And pleased to bring in right now Texas Congressman Pete Sessions, who serves on the House Committee of Oversight and Accountability. Congressman Sessions, welcome into you, sir. Thank you for being with us today.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. A busy one indeed. I want to put up the map here just so viewers can really see how close this suspect was able to get to the former president. 58-year-old Ryan Wesley Routh. Just about, I mean, a whole 5 there. There's a street. Your questions about the perimeter. You just heard Congressman Joe Biden saying that Congress needs to do more. Your reaction to President Biden's statements just a short time ago from the White House and the fact he's saying it's Congress's responsibility when we know that there is a lot of questions about the Secret Service and the failures we saw in Butler.
Bianca, thank you very much. We should all understand, as I think members of Congress do, that the United States Secret Service and doing their job should not have necessarily parameters that they have to be limited by based upon the circumstance. As you recall, I pushed the former director of the Secret Service to understand that the things that they thought were wrong needed to be corrected immediately by the Secret Service. I do have confidence. One is the director was there and on site today. That is an indication, but that the Secret Service is beginning to catch on. But the President of the United States, by his comments today, should know this, that Congress needs to hear directly about what those needs are. We've been told we're going to wait for the final from the original shooting in Butler, PA. We need to know immediately today what would be necessary to protect the President Trump, because it would destabilize the country, not just another shooting.
Obviously, it's paramount right now. Time is of the essence. And as you talked about that final report, it's important to note that acting Secret Service Director, who, yes, he is in Florida, will do this walkthrough. But just last Thursday, he spoke to members of the House and the Senate in those closed sessions. And, you know, Congressman, he talked about that there were resource constraints that they faced this election cycle. He talked about the failures and what's been done to fix it. I don't know if it's been fixed, if you will, and you talk about that final internal report. No one's been fired. No one's been let go. So exactly, you know, what changes have been made seems to be a bit unclear, and how it's fixed. These resources, if they're constrained, they will continue to be that way. No? Isn't that a major concern?
It is. And once again, their circumstances of the parameters that they put around what work they do should be thrown out the window at this time. You have a candidate who has not only been threatened every day, but who has been theoretically shot at or to be shot at, and those circumstances should change. Regardless of the circumstances, we need to develop that envelope around President Trump, just as we do Vice President Harris, to avoid this, because the entire country is what would come unraveled, not simply just a shooting at a person. And I will engage as the chairman of federal oversight for government operations and the federal workforce. I will be re-engaging in that today.
Congressman Sessions, we want to stay close to this story because it seemed to disappear after Butler for a while with the legacy media. What is your reaction? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says Florida will conduct its own investigation. There are others calling for that. You know, distrust in the FBI is at pretty much an all-time high with many Americans. And we have obviously, there's people like Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, who has asked as well for Governor DeSantis to do more. In fact, he's saying, please assume direct control of the investigation. The feds have dropped the ball thoroughly on Butler, Pennsylvania. Would you agree?
Well, let me say this. It is easy to agree with that because that's a prima facie case. Almost anyone could agree with that. But we need to make sure that because the Secret Service has that primary protective legal requirement, that they are brought in. I think Governor DeSantis is doing the right thing, and I support Governor DeSantis. But it must be shared information where there is a clear establishment of the data and information about who's asking questions, because it will be used in a federal case. I can't believe that we could not establish that this man was there to shoot the former president of the United States of America. I don't hear that in the charges either this morning, and that is disturbing.
I would agree with that as well. Congressman Pete Sessions, appreciate your time, sir. Good to have you in, and keep us posted on what your next steps and the follow through we know that you are taking and watching closely. Thank you, sir.
You bet.